Hello, everyone. It's Murphy Daily here on Written by Murphy with a Moment of Wonder. I've been reading lots of books. In fact, I'm reading a book right now that's kind of driving me crazy. I finished Young Men and Fire, which my husband has read several times, and I can see why. It's a very boy book. And got it's got a mystery, it's got nature, it's got adventure and fighting for your life and all kinds of goodness to it. And it's very beautiful. And it reminds me of a book about a war, except there's not a war. So that's a really good book. I'm not very good at visualizing descriptions of where things are. And yeah, if I were to read a map and see, I could figure it out. It would be effort, and I generally just kind of skip over it. But I could see that for people that liked that, they really love it. My husband certainly likes it. And it was a beautiful story. It was well written about the tragedy of some early firefighters who would jump into the fire to try and fight the fire. So, and it resulted in that particular fire, and how so many people died resulted in changing how they do things. So this is similar to the second book that I'm reading that's bothering me a bit right now, called Silent Spring. Silent Spring also really affected the whole country. Not everyone is involved in fighting fires in remote areas. Not everyone jumps out of a plane to fight a fire, but everyone is aware of the Environmental Protection Agency. And Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, was taken up by President Kennedy, JFK, and he read it, and people were very responsive to what she said. Basically, to sum it up from the title, she said that we are using insecticides and chemicals and causing to fight weeds and insects, but it's causing a greater harm than just killing the things we want to kill. And in general, I think it's wise to pay attention to what we are doing and seeing that we don't make our environment toxic, and that we examine new inventions and see where it leads us, right? Okay, fine. But oh my gosh, Silent Spring. I do not like the way she writes, because she writes very emotionally. She uses charged words. We don't know. Endless death, devastation. These kinds of words that are emotionally charged, I think, are manipulative, leading you to come to a conclusion. I think that if the conclusion that you would like people to come to has its own merits, it's not necessary to use these emotional tag words. And it bothers me that she does use the tag words. Some of the other things that came out of this book is there was a banning of the use of DDT. DDT she mentions a lot as one of the chemicals that is toxic to the environment. Well, yes, but it does a really good job of killing mosquitoes. And many people argue that the lack of using DDT in countries where malaria is a problem has resulted in a lot of death, and that the toxicity would have been worth it because people would have survived better. So people had an emotional reaction to her emotional book. In the same way, it's supposed to be a scientific book, and it's written by a scientist. Rachel Carson had written other books about oceans. So she is a scientist. But she didn't write in a scientific way. She wrote in a way that reminds me of some of these heightened, emotional books like Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is notoriously romantic and overdone. So I don't love her style, and I think that she overdid it. I think that she caused a lot of people to get all head up and didn't give us an understanding that we should be working with scientific tools. I think she did her science a disservice. And so because it was a book which had historic significance, I'm taking the time to finish it. I'm almost done. I've got, maybe an hour left to go. But I am at this point sick of her rhetoric. We must. It's untold damage. Impossible to say how long we will be diseased in the end of all life. Like, okay, that's not scientific anymore. We're not talking about science anymore. We're not talking about making choices and seeing the results of our experiments. We're not coming up with numbers. So that bothers me a lot. And I think I don't like the way she did it. I think that in general, the Environmental Protection Agency is a good thing to have because we do want to pay attention to how we are treading on this earth. But I would rather have more science involved than just pearl clutching. So that bothers me a bit. And it's interesting that it's coming right after Young Men and Fire, which was a tragic story, but with a great sense of science and a greater sense of hesitancy about coming to conclusions. So that's what I'm thinking about today. Hey, I forgot to say, if you see this on the replay, come on, type replay, give me some comments, tell me what you think. Let me know what you think of persuasion techniques and emotional manipulation. I'd be very interested. Or if you yourself have read Silent Spring, and maybe you have a book that you like better, let me know. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you. Let's keep the conversation going.